Major first aids.
First, do not get frightened or panicky when an accident takes place. Second, do not crowd around the person who is hurt. Third, if the person is badly hurt, make him lie down and send someone to call a doctor. Fourth, bleeding makes a person weak, so we should prevent any heavy loss of blood. First aid in case of fractures. A person may break a bone anywhere, at home, on the road, or in school. Such a person naturally needs immediate first aid. The following signs suggest a fracture. First, the part is very painful. Second, the patient cannot move the injured part. And third, the place of injury swells up rapidly and is painful to touch. Has a friend ever fractured a bone? It's quite painful. A fractured bone needs proper support to prevent further injury. So what can be done? First, as far as possible, do not move the patient. Second, if the patient has to be moved, first tie a splint above and below the fracture. If a splint is not available, use pieces of cardboard, a pole, stick, rolled magazine, or newspaper for the same purpose. The splints must be long enough to extend well beyond the joints above and below the fracture. The splints should be tied with bandages or cloth at least at 3 places. Above the fracture, below the fracture, and at the level of the fracture. The aim is not to allow the broken pieces of the bone to move out of line and out of their normal position. If the bones of the arm are broken, the injured arm should be further supported by a sling. If a leg bone is broken, it should be tied with splints and the patient made to lie down. The injured leg should not be moved at all. If the patient has to be moved, he should be carried on a stretcher. First aid in case of snake bites. You may have already heard that prevention is always better than a cure. So, it is better to avoid being bitten by a snake than to rush for treatment after getting a snake bite. Is it not so? It is not safe to walk in the dark because one may get hurt by stumbling against stones or falling into a ditch. One may also be bitten by snakes, scorpions, etc. So always carry a torch or lantern while walking at night. All snakes are not poisonous. In case a poisonous snake bites a person, it should be treated as a serious emergency and immediate attention should be given to the victim. The snake poison, that is venom, travels very fast through the blood and affects the heart and nervous system, causing death very quickly. The following first aid should be given to the victim. First, get the poison out of the wounds as quickly as possible. This is done by making cross cuts about ½ centimeter deep over the wound with a knife and then sucking the wound and spitting out the poison. This should be repeated a number of times. Second, apply a tight bandage just above the wound, that is, between the wound and the heart, in order to prevent the poison-laden blood from reaching the heart. Third, apply an ice pack over the bite if possible. Fourth, wash the wound with potassium permanganate. And fifth, carry the victim to a doctor or hospital.
First aid in case of bleeding.
Wash your hands before touching the patient. Place a clean cloth or cotton pad firmly over the wound and apply pressure directly over the wound. Tie a tight bandage above the wound. See that the bleeding part is higher than the rest of the body. If ice is available, place some ice on the bleeding wound. This will help to stop bleeding quickly. Once the bleeding stops, clean the wound with spirit or an antiseptic solution like Dettol. Place a pad of cotton over the wound and tie a bandage. Never leave a wound exposed. Dust, flies and germs get into it and make it septic. People may get bitten by insects. I'm sure an insect or two has bitten you sometime or the other, right? Now, some insect stings or bites are very painful and cause swelling. The following should be done to give relief. A. Wash the affected spot with lime water or apply ammonia solution over it. B. Place ice over the affected spot. Sixth, keep the following things handy in the house in case of emergencies. A. A roll of sterilized cotton wool. B. Rolls of cotton bandages. C. Tincture of iodine, Dettol, carbolic solution. D. Ammonia and lime water. And E. Vaseline or any other ointment. Causes of fire. Now, fire is very useful to man, but when it gets out of control, it causes great damage and loss, not only to property, but also to human life. Thousands of people die of burns every year. Most fires are caused by carelessness. In home, fire can break out and people can get burnt in the following ways. First, a child or an adult may spill boiling water over his body. He will get bad burns due to the steam and boiling water. Second, a person's clothes may catch fire while cooking on a gas or kerosene oil stove, or while burning wood and coal. It is particularly dangerous to go near the fire if one is wearing nylon or other synthetic clothes, because these catch fire very easily. Third, sometimes what happens is that little children attempt to light a matchstick, and the burning stick may fall on their clothes, setting them on fire. Fourth, a child may get burnt while playing with firecrackers during celebrations. Fifth, sometimes a person may throw away a burning matchstick after lighting a cigarette or stove, etc. If it happens to fall on a heap of paper or dry grass, it may cause a serious fire. Sixth, the electric wiring in the house or a building may be defective and a fire may start due to leakage of current, which is also known as short circuiting.
Safety for fireworks.
Playing with fire is dangerous. If you do so, you may get badly burnt. Do not light matchsticks for fun. Avoid touching hot pans, steaming kettles, electric stoves, and heaters. Sometimes you like to help your mother in the kitchen, don't you? Now that's really nice. But remember never to wear nylon or terylene clothes when you go near the fire. Such clothes can catch fire easily. Fireworks. You all enjoy playing with fireworks on Diwali. Be careful though when lighting bombs, firecrackers, and rockets. Never hold them in your hand while lighting. When holding the lighted sparklers in your hand, keep them at a safe distance from your body. All this is really important. Safety rules for handling fire in the kitchen. It is often said we must never play with fire. First, all electrical equipments like stoves, kettles and heaters should be in good working order. If they are not, they may cause fire or accidents. Second, do not go too close to the fire. Third, do not blow at the fire with your mouth. Fourth, while working in the kitchen, do not wear nylon or synthetic clothes which catch fire easily. And fifth, turn off gas, kerosene or electric stoves before leaving the kitchen. Coal fire should also be put out when not being used. How to prevent a fire? Now that we have learned the causes of fire, we can easily frame simple rules for preventing accidents because of fire. Is it not so? So let's see how we can prevent a fire. First, children should not touch boiling pans, kettles, lighted stoves, or electric heaters, etc. And adults should be careful while cooking so as to avoid getting burnt. Second, No one should go near the fire while wearing nylon or other synthetic clothes. Third, matchboxes should be kept out of the reach of children. Fourth, children and adults should be very careful while lighting firecrackers. Fifth, all matchsticks should be put out completely before being thrown away. And sixth, all electric wiring in the house and in buildings should be checked against leakage from time to time. Simple ways of putting out fire. A fire can start and continue to burn only when the following three conditions are present. First, a substance that is a fuel that will burn. Second, the substance of fuel must be heated to its kindling temperature, which is a temperature at which oxygen unites with fuel rapidly. Third, plenty of air or oxygen. A. Lower the temperature of the burning substance, that is the fuel, below the kindling point. Now this is done by pouring water over the fire. However, water does not help to put out electric fires or if petrol, kerosene or any other oil catches fire. B. Cut off the supply of air. First, in case a person's clothes catch fire, cover the person with a thick durry, blanket or carpet. This cuts off air and thus helps in putting out the fire. Second, if your own clothes catch fire, lie down at once and put out the flames by rolling up in a blanket, rug or overcoat, leaving the head uncovered. Third, if petrol or kerosene oil catches fire, put sand over it. This is important. Don't put water, put sand. This also cuts off the supply of air and thus helps in putting out the fire. Third, shut off the fuel supply. Since it is the fuel that burns, shutting off the fuel supply will help in putting out the fire. Example, turning off the gas supply will help in putting out a gas fire. D. Use a fire extinguisher to put out the fire. It is good to keep a fire extinguisher handy in the house, car, or a large building. This will put out fire quickly and prevent damage. The fire will also not be able to spread fast. So it's quite sensible, is it not, to have a fire extinguisher handy? Treatment of burns. Burns can be caused by heat from open flames, hot pans, steam, boiling water, etc., or by chemicals, that is, acids. Since accidents with fire are very common, we may be called upon any time to help a person who has been burnt. So, we should know what first aid is required to be given to a patient with burns. So let's see what we can do. First, for slight burns, prepare a solution of baking soda by adding a heaped teaspoonful of baking soda to a glass of water. Soak a piece of lint or gauze in this solution and apply over the burnt area. This can be used as a continuous wet dressing. Second, in case of severe burns, make the patient lie down. Place a clean piece of cloth over the burnt area to keep out air. This is because air contains disease germs which should not be allowed to enter the wound. Keep the patient's head and chest a little lower than the rest of the body. If he is conscious and can swallow, give him plenty of liquids to drink. Send for a doctor.